Welcome back to SwitchCorner. My name is Alex and today we're going to be taking a look at Azur Lane Crosswave on the Nintendo Switch. Now this series it started on iOS and Android as a gacha title, but this marks its first foray into the console world. So is this one fans should be checking out though, and is it going to be worth your cash? Well, hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here, join our growing family and let's get started. So story, and here we enter a world where anime girls are essentially famous battleships, and yes, you heard that right. The idea here, warring nations, they found some level of peace. Different factions, they now work to kind of live in peace together in the form of the Eagle Union, the Royal Navy, the Secure Empire, and Iron Blood. The main story, it jumps between these different factions, but the story is paying particular focus to Shimakaze and Suruga, who are up and coming battleships, or whatever you want to call them. You will though follow them on this kind of journey as they uncover a mystery centered around the evil sirens who are dropping mysterious objects around this world. So basically you're going to join forces and get to taking them down. There's a whole lot of story here though, and it can get pretty deep. I will say here though, I have no prior experience with the series and I had personally no difficulty understanding the story or getting to know these characters. So gameplay, it really comes down to two different elements. You've got story and then you've got action battles. One area where I think this one will deceive many is its description on the eShop, promising like high-octane epic battles. Yeah, definitely not. This game, or at least story mode, is I'd say like 90% visual novel, 10% battles. You can unlock a 100 battle mode called Extreme Battle, but to get access to this, you do need to clear chapter 1 of story mode first. That's a good 2 or so hour undertaking. So the visual novel elements here, nothing you wouldn't expect. Read text, uncover story, and there's a few options, think like skip, fast forward, or maybe review those prior conversations. How it pieces it together though makes it somewhat unique. You'll get a very iOS feeling overworld map to explore, and here you can look for offense. That means either conversations, mystery boxes which contain gear, or those battles. This basically gives you some freedom in how you piece it all together and in what order you see events unfold. Not that I really noticed too much impact on how the conversations were flowing. These scenes, they can be long though. I have one in the background. Right now it's actually in fast forward mode just to give you an idea of how much reading you will be undertaking. This is just one very small section. It was clearly designed for genre fans, no question about it, and while I do check some out, I'm not a hardcore visual novel guy myself, and I think that needs to be put out there now. Battles then, this is what I was looking forward to, and honestly seriously disappointing. They look the part, and the idea of almost mech suits in naval warfare, I can't deny it's a badass concept, but it just doesn't play out all that well. We get a few different weaponry options attached to the right triggers and then a couple of special moves. It's just the lack of strategy that really disappointed me. I never felt like I was particularly improving or being challenged in a different way. Rather, I was just kind of leveling up, improving my equipment, meaning I was simply fighting force with force. I was just getting stronger. My go-to strategy, pretty much every single fight here, move left to right and fire as I go, avoiding the huge amount of incoming enemy fire. I wish there was more I could say here, but it's essentially that same thing on repeat. Very little depth, there's no change in gameplay, and even the enemies, sure they're going to get more difficult, maybe a little bigger, but that's really about it. It's the size of the health bar. 90% of the time it's kind of the same enemies just on repeat. This for me is the big missed opportunity. This one could have been asking you to do so many different things in these missions. Instead they rely on just one formula, and that is just destroy everything in sight. So one area of the game though that was a highlight for me is it understands that fans want more ships and options, and going into battle you can use a team of 3 along with a support roster of 3 as well. This leads to some good old grinding that fans will no doubt enjoy, with around like 40 primary ships and 40 support. These are unlocked thanks to in-game currency that's awarded in battle, and then each can additionally be leveled up. You can change the equipment they are using, and you can also individually level up up the equipment as well, either by, that's basically finding the required materials or using cash as well. It's not perfect, but for fans it's going to give you a good reason to keep on coming back, and the game's generous at giving out rewards, so you at least feel that like sense of forward progression. So overall for gameplay, the story is relatively light stuff. It's definitely got a few twists and turns. It actually gets deeper than I expected as well, but there's also some extremely long sequences. That's what you need to be coming here for though, as the battles are, to be blunt, just pretty awful, with zero strategy, intensity or variety. Rather, hold a button and patiently wait for your opponent to sink or fall from the sky. There's content here, absolutely. Story, it took me around that 12-hour mark, but it's a shame that now, because the battles are so dull, it pretty much makes things like the 100 battle mode, yeah, obsolete. So visually, I actually quite like a lot of it. It's for sure an acquired taste, the typical over-sexualized anime designs, but they do have their charm, and each brings their own unique spin on the anime girl boat vibe they're going for. I do think they missed an opportunity here with any real cutscenes. This is a standard, still screens, text at the bottom. I think anime naval battles would have been pretty damn amazing to see them play out in full-on animation. And then the battles, they're not quite as good. They for sure look dated, almost last gen, with a very almost blocky feel to them, but there's still some nice animations for our heroes, and I really did like the water effects. Enemies wise, unfortunately not so good there. They lack any real variety, just aim at the grey thing. That was kind of my go-to strategy. Finally then, the overworld map, it looks fine, but for sure it highlights its iOS roots and brings a nice distraction still between cutscenes. Audio, finally, it's all voice acted first of all, not English however, but it sounds really good, and then there's a lot of dialogue as well, so kudos to them for doing that. Also then the music, I really did enjoy it. It's not going to, surprise you particularly, but there was a lot in here, whether it was text heavy moments or battles, and I actually might dig out a few tracks just to have a real listen to offline. Finally, sound effects again, they just do their job with weapons, explosions and all that good stuff. So the final verdict, in Azur Lane, Crosswave was not what I expected. The eShop sold me on high-octane anime naval warfare, and every screenshot, nearly all of them anyway, highlighted that. What I found was a visual novel with lackluster battles tacked on. They got repetitive nearly, maybe like 15 minutes in, and it just relied on zero strategy other than keep on moving and keep that shoot button held down, and that's a shame because the idea itself is fine, hybrid mech-like kind of warfare, I love that. It's just entirely undercooked. The story fans will no doubt enjoy, but it's nothing overly special, and even if it is deep, it's still pretty generic in its good versus evil plot points. I think for fans, you'll probably maybe want to check this out, but everyone else, I think there's much better examples of either visual novels or 3D action on the Nintendo Switch already that you should be checking out before this one. Today I'm giving Azur Lane Crosswave a below average 4 out of 10. The story, it's harmless enough, and the upgrades, all that stuff, it adds some collectathon feels to the experience, but the battles, they just lack any fun, and that's kind of a shame when that was the main thing a lot of people are going to be coming here for. Thanks for watching. Will you be adding Azur Lane Crosswave to the library, and did you play the cell phone game as well? Was that story heavy, or is this very much kind of like deviating from what that game set up? With that though, a shout out then to the patrons of the channel who are just going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. It helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. If you do want to check that out for yourself, I have left it in the video description down below. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.